So I know that they've prepared just really, really quick elevator speeches, so to speak. So we'll call them a short elevator. Stories, no more. This isn't the Empire State Building. So let's go ahead and get started with that then. Chelsea, if you want to go ahead and move the slide over. So let's do wants and needs first. Does anybody have something quick that you need some help with? Any questions you guys have for us?
I do. I just have a client that is selling a big family property that they've been in the works of for 5 years. And when it closes, I need to reinvest with them for a 1031. So I am looking now, but we can't start the clock until May 1st. So our budget will be between 500 and 600 max. So I'm just trying to line things up. So if anybody has condos or twin homes or townhomes, let me know. It'll be cash.
Okay. I've got one in American Fork coming right up. So
Did you guys hear me?
yeah, we heard you. We heard you. Can you hear us, Judy? I don't know if Judy can hear us. I've got one in American Fork coming up next week, so give me a call. Anybody else? All right, cool. Moving right along. So broker moment. What's one of the most important documents to have in the file when representing the buyer? We give you the answer, so it's not really a quiz. The buyer due diligence checklist. So why? There are a lot of buyers waiving due diligence right now in their offer in order to make it more competitive. Without a doubt, there's a tremendous amount of risk in doing this, both for the buyer and the buyer's agent. The buyer may come to discover a latent defect after closing the transaction, which could result in a significant expense to resolve. Once the defect is discovered, the buyer may choose to assign liability to the seller or listing agent if they had knowledge of the defect, or they may decide to blame their own agent for allowing them to waive their inspection. So hopefully that's a no-brainer for you guys, but I even bring it to my buyer's appointment and have them sign it right there. Just the due diligence checklist is something that shows that you took care of them, you showed them what to look for. That way, if they decide not to do an inspection, you're doing your most important job, which is advising them correctly, but you're also protecting yourself, which is very important. If there's any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just move on. So our upcoming classes, I'm excited that we just finished champions training last week. So next week, we're going to be doing the 5 lessons a millionaire taught me for realtors. It's a really great financial planning class based on one of my top 5 financial books. So if you want to pick that book up before class, it's a great read. It's only about 100 pages, really quick. Then of course we have Raising the Bar Tuesday at 10, and then Advanced Disc Personality Styles on Wednesday. So that's going to be really fun. No class this Thursday. Our weekly closers, we had 33 closings, so I'm going to give you guys all a round of applause. Super impressive. And our capper this week is Lisa Lott. I don't know if she's on here, but she's awesome. She caps every year. So great job, Lisa. So let's go ahead and switch to our affiliates. Are you here, Amy, with White Knight? All right, go ahead, Patrick. Take it away.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks. So just keeping with the theme of adding value to all the services you provide, just to let you know, HWA does not have any age restrictions on homes or services or appliances, things of that nature. So if you're selling one of those old 1953 homes with the mustard yellow appliances, we got you covered. So I'm part of a BNI chapter that I meet every Wednesday morning, and several of my chapter members have purchased warranties on those, and not a single one of them has yet to not capitalize on saving money. They've all exceeded the amount of money they spent on their warranties with savings and costly repairs that they weren't expecting. So it's a great value. Hope you can provide that service for your clients and let them know. I'm happy to take their calls and answer any questions they have. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Patrick. Great job. All right, Jack with Edge Homes, take it away.
Hey, hi guys. Sorry, I'm out here by a road. Had a tire issue this morning, so I'm at a tire shop. Anyway, we have 30 combined between condos and townhomes. We have 30 plus townhomes and condos available to purchase today. Intent to contract forms are due today by 5 o'clock p.m. Again, if you want to get ahead of these releases, the links that I send out in my email that give you access to the upcoming releases reports and flyers and lot premiums and current pricing. If you don't have that, reach out to me and I can send that to you real quick regarding any community or Edge homes in general. And then tomorrow we will have another dozen single family lots between Harriman and Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain. I will be headed out of town to Oregon for a family wedding, and we'll be back not next week, but Monday following. And so I will still have access to email and phone and will respond as I'm able, but I stand ready to assist. And you have lots of opportunities right now to get your buyers something, even if they have been dead set on resale in the past. Let's get together, because I have had many buyers that have decided to go build rather than resale. So would love to walk you through the process and see if I can assist. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jack. And before we switch over to class, and thank you everybody for being so brief and giving our instructors a lot of time. We had one person we forgot to put up here. If he's not here, I'll go ahead and show you guys what he wanted to share with you. Paul Nguyen, are you on the call? Okay, so Paul Nguyen is a mortgage officer. I believe he's with Brighton Peak Financial is the name of his company. But he had something really exciting he wanted to show us. And I'm not quite sure all the details, but I do know it's at least for buyers, of course, because if you're doing the loan, then that's going to involve them. So with their next batch of buyers that they get sent, they are giving this. I'm pulling it up right now, and then I'll share the screen so you guys can see it. So they are gonna pay for this for your clients. I believe they have some rules they need to work with, so I'm not sure if they're only able to pay half or if they've figured out a way to pay the full amount. But these are one of our affiliates, so lots of you guys know about 3Peat. They're a closing gift company. And they said that they're going to be helping out with getting the platinum package for your clients if you do a loan with them. And I'm not sure if it's just March and April or if it's going to continue from there, but it's pretty cool. They do a welcome home basket that's made by former owners of a Needers franchise, so they do really well with that. Then a seasonal gift, then movie, popcorn treats, and dinner delivered, and then movie tickets, a dinner out, and a hotel stay. So they space that out over, several months. So you're going to look like an absolute rock star to your clients. So again, that's Paul Nguyen. He's mortgage officer. He's going to provide that on the next batch of closings for our Presidio agents. So get in touch with him. I'll put his phone number in the chat box if you have any clients that you want to send his way, any buyers you're working with. So with that, we will go ahead and switch over to did I never even share my screen? Please tell me I shared my screen.
You're good. We saw you.
It doesn't show that I'm sharing my screen anymore. So, all right. So with that, we'll switch over to our educators today. I'm really excited for you guys to see what they have to share with you. These guys are awesome. And if they want to give themselves a further introduction, I'll allow them to do so, but I want to give them as much time as possible for class. So I'll let you take it away, Jeremiah.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Tell us a little
Okay,
about yourself
perfect.
before you start, if you could.
Absolutely. So, and what I'll do too, Austin, why don't you, if you want to kick us off really quick, and then I can go from there.
Sure. So my name is Austin Hayden. I'm actually not a real estate agent. I'm sponsoring this class with our company called HomeFit. So you guys probably got a couple emails from us over the last few months. We talked with the brokers at Presidio about doing a free trial of our product with the agents of Presidio. We're sponsoring this class, which is about focusing buyers quickly on the right stuff, which is particularly important in this market. The Jeremiah will show you a little bit about the product because he's using it during the class to demonstrate something. However, the reason that HomeFit as an app exists is because I, as a buyer, was looking to buy a house in Arizona a few years ago. And
Austin, put your mic a little closer to your mouth. We lost you there for a little bit.
sorry, is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
I was looking to buy a house in Arizona a few years ago, and I went out with my friend who's a broker, who's been doing it for 20 years, saw 5 places, and by the time I got in the car to go home, all of those houses had just kind of melted together in my head, and I couldn't keep track of which one had the fireplace and which one had the big backyard and which one had that strange room on its own floor. So I spent all night re-looking up these houses, and it was a really stressful experience. So HomeFit is meant to help buyers keep everything straight in their mind, which then helps them make decisions immediately. So it makes it easier on you as agents because you don't have to show them as many homes. You don't have to try to convince them, hey, this meets your criteria, guys. You just aren't thinking about it the right way. It helps. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my internet's doing something weird. The app will help your buyers focus quickly, though, which then helps you as an agent be able to get them to do what they need to do rapidly.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin. So yeah, let me know if anybody has a hard time hearing me. Hopefully it'll come through well. But you know, it's been neat to be able to use this tool. So my name is Jeremiah. I've been in the industry for, let's see, it'll be 19 years next month. And so I've been, I cut my teeth as a property manager, obviously did sales. I'm a broker. Right now I'm doing developments. And so I've had a pretty good variety of opportunity and education. So definitely appreciate the opportunity to work at Presidio. We're fans of the Presidio team. We've got lots of good friends over at Presidio. And so it's been great to work with everybody in that respect. So this particular class, it's a 3-hour class. Just to be respectful of your time, we're actually going to condense it a little bit because I know that there's another class that starts at about 1 o'clock. We want to give people time for lunch and all that. So we're going to make really sure to be careful about that. Also, and you know, feel free as we go through, you're welcome to stop and ask questions. I'm going to try to adapt based on everyone's knowledge of the group. So to start us off really quickly, tell us a little bit about, if you just type in the chat there, how many years you've been in real estate. So just type in if it's been 3 years, 1 year, 20 years, something like that. Congratulations. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the industry, Cindy. Sarah's new also, it looks like. 3 years, 4 years, 2 years. Awesome. So this may actually be quite a bit. This may be new to a lot of you, and so I hope that you'll find some value here. And for those who have been around a long time, I hope that we can share some stuff that is also new and insightful. So the first thing I kind of want to point out, there was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal about 3 months ago, talking about how the biggest threat in real estate right now, obviously interest rates, but the threat in the future.
Sorry to interrupt, Jeremiah. Could you remind everybody of the rules if they want CE credit?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you, so the rules for CE credit, this obviously is approved for Zoom. And so what we need you to do is keep your cameras on so we know that you're there and paying attention. We will also be giving some keywords a few times during this meeting. We'll have 3 keywords. So Jen, my associate here, she'll be giving us those keywords. We'll pack them basically within about a 2-hour window, those 3 keywords. And then at the end, we're going to have a link that we're going to post in the chat for everybody to click on and fill out a form. You will need, of course, your license number and your email address. so that we can send you your certificate. And so that form will have where you put the 3 keywords, you put your license number and the certificate. I'm sorry, email address for your certificate. Thank you for that reminder. Appreciate it. All right. So as I was mentioning, so there's an article that was in the Wall Street Journal that said that one of the big threats coming up in real estate is buyer's remorse. And why do you think that might be? Why do you think buyer's remorse is going to be a future threat in our industry? Feel free to unmute.
Because
Or
people
you
are
can post in chat.
overpaying.
They are. They're overpaying. And what are they overpaying for? A house that may not fit their needs. You know, right now it's like, oh, it has rooms. I'll take it. It has a garage that has a door on it. I'll take it. It has a carport that I can put a door on it. I'll take it. And so that is literally the truth. There is, I really liked what Brian said about the due diligence thing. In fact, that was specifically cited in that article, that the agents, the buyers were jumping into homes, not doing their due diligence, and really regretting it afterward because of finding things that they didn't know about before, and they weren't as prepared as they should be. And so a lot of where I'm directing this class is applicable to all market cycles, but I am trying to anchor it more on that idea of getting buyers prepared to be successful in this market. Because right now it's not about choice. There's just not a lot of choice out there, but it's about confidence and being confident that when somebody is committing to purchase a property and pay over list and waive all these conditions, that is absolutely the property that they wanted to buy. So part of the purpose of this is to make sure that we're doing that upfront effort to help them be prepared to commit hard to an opportunity to buy. So I'm going to be doing a lot of jumping around on my screen here. And so just bear with me. I'll have a little bit of switching back and forth as we do this. And so, you know, if you guys see any glitches or any issues, you know, please let me know, and we will deal accordingly. So one of the big things that we want to do, let's make sure I get my navigation. So when you're sitting down with a client, and for those of you who are brand new, this is something that you may have heard when you learned about buyer consults. Most of you know you want to find out what your buyer wants. And there is a running joke right now. It says, it doesn't matter what they want, it doesn't exist. Well, you still want to make sure you know what it is. Because if your client doesn't feel like they're listening to you, they're going to be, even if they don't have any of those options, they want to feel like they are being listened to and that they're able to get these things out of their head. And as you let them put it out of their head and put it on paper or whatever tool you use, they're going to have a better experience. So one of the things I always like to do with clients, how many of you guys do this initial consult where you play this game? I like to call it 20 questions. Raise some hands there if you play the game of 20 questions. I see a couple head nods. What are some of these questions? So these are some things. Do you have a list of questions that you refer to when you play this game of 20 questions?
Are you, sorry, just to help everybody out, are you just referring to when you first meet?
Yeah, when you sit down with your client and they say, I want to buy a home, and then you say, great, do you just start taking them out to see homes, or do you kind of narrow down what it is that they're looking for first?
I specifically like to do an evaluation of where they want to be in 50 years. It sounds kind of extreme, but it helps us look at things that most agents don't cover, like what's
That's
your
awesome.
purchase? Is this going to build equity towards that next purchase? Do you want to invest? And a lot of times it gets me investor clients that I wouldn't have had because they end up buying something smaller and then moving in a few years and buying something bigger and picking up an investment.
That's a great strategy. I love it. So one of the things that is really common when you guys start, so you start with that view, kind of start to narrow down to what it is that they're specifically looking for. And so one of the things, so a lot of agents will play this thing and say, they'll write down, okay, what is it you're looking for in a home? Bedrooms, bathrooms, property type. In today's market, with a lot of people are working from home, suddenly the home office became really important. So people started looking for a home office, and then you as an agent can coach them and say, well, it's not just a home office that you need. It's actually probably a bedroom, or maybe it's an unfinished basement that you can finish into a home office. And so try to help them understand and expand those criteria. I always like to tell clients that the only two things you can't change are location and floor plan, but everything else in that, it's you can be a little bit more open-minded on that. So most agents will sit there and start with something of this process. But what I've seen a lot of agents that they don't do is it's a second step, which is the trade-offs. Because, and especially in today's market, clients need to be willing to make trade-offs. And they need to be able to go through the process of saying, what am I willing to give up? So this is when you help your client go through the process of saying, what are you willing to not have? It helps them to become a little bit more focused and a little more prepared to commit. So obviously when you're in a buyer's market, which is what we were several years ago, there's lots of opportunity, and buyers could look for months and never really settle on anything because they just could have lots of choices. And so as you have them figure out what's most important, you can help them focus on getting, does this, they can ignore all those homes that don't necessarily have what's most important. In a seller's market, gets you ready to pounce. There's a concept when it comes shopping on eBay called sniping. And in eBay, what that means is that you'll have what you end up doing with eBay, I'll pause this for a minute. The best way to get something off of eBay is to know exactly what you want. And then right before the auction expires, you dive in and you commit your highest price. And you'll get it every time. And they call it sniping. And there's a similar variation right now today where your client needs to know exactly what they want. And the minute it comes on, you need to nail it with the highest price you're willing to pay and all the trade-offs you're willing to make to get that. And but the key is knowing exactly what you want, because obviously somebody can't commit with confidence unless they are confident in what they're committing to and what it is that they are specifically looking at. So that's why we talk about finding out what's most important. Now the way we do that is you kind of identify some of these things, and so. Remember that your clients will not be happy if they just get anything. I mean, we joke as long as they can get something in this market, they'll be happy, but that's not true. They will regret it in a few years, and they'll sit there and say, why did you sell this to me? And so it's really important that you help your clients go through and identify what they're willing to sacrifice, and that they felt good about what they did. So we kind of help people go through this process. I'm going to show this in the app. Part of this is one of those things that's a little bit unique because HomeFit is sponsoring this. I do get to demo the app more. And so one of the things I'll show you in a moment with this app is that it takes you through the process of saying what is most important. And so with your clients, you want to go through this exercise of, if it's a deal breaker, they need to make sure they're going to walk away, because otherwise they're going to really regret it in the end. If it's high importance, I like to define that as someone, they probably won't buy it if they don't have it, but they'd be willing to reconsider in either a super tight market or if they like the house enough. And then the extras, the icing on the cake, in a normal market persuade you, but in this market, you can't really even look practically at the extras so much. But what we have been finding is that one of the best things to do with the extras is still get it out of the client and onto paper, not because it'll distract them, but because it creates the mental, it gives the client the mental relief of getting it out of their head and onto paper. It helps them realize that, yes, this is something I did consider it and I consciously chose not to pursue it. That's a really important thing with these clients to avoid buyer's remorse. So again, I think it's worth the exercise there. Before I go on to demo the app, which category would you consider budget? Deal breaker, important, or an extra, or a must have, love to have, like to have? Where would you guys put that particular item? Feel free to use the chat. Can I pick on Cindy, the new one? You don't have to, but if you want to unmute and tell me which category you think budget's in, go ahead.
I'll save you, Cindy, if you don't want to.
Save me, please. Thank you.
I don't think there's a right answer. I mean, my
There we
opinion is most buyers that are smart, financially smart, the budget isn't a deal breaker because they'll tell you 400 and they can afford 450. But there are some that are at the top of their price range and it would be a deal breaker.
That's great. That's awesome. And that's
Thank
why
you.
Good job, Cindy. Thank you. Now she's going to have that and she'll never forget it. That's the key. See, these put on the spot moments are the ones that kind of stick. Or next time you'll see me with a listing or something, you'll say, I'm not going to work with that agent. He's horrible. What a jerk. But yeah, you know, it's there to, that's the thing, you know, people talk about, you know, technology doesn't replace us. It helps us. It should facilitate our relationship with our client and coaching our client and helping them make decisions. So I'm going to jump over here for a moment. Lisa put must have. Yes, I think to be honest, yeah, my thought actually was a must have as well, because yeah, if you can't afford it, then it's kind of out the window. But you're right. So those are, thank you for, and feel free everybody to put those into the chats. We appreciate that for sure. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of share. Let me pull up. So hopping back and forth over Zoom, I'm going to be sharing a couple different screens here. And so this is where those pauses are, and we can think for a moment. So this is the HomeFit app, and I'm going to show you a couple different areas with it. So when a client uses this app, it has them go through the process of finding their priorities. When it used to be that when I would write down clients, I play the game of 20 questions, I would just write it down on a piece of paper. The problem, of course, is what happens if they change? What happens if the client is watching HGTV and they decide they want the infamous open concept with granite countertops? And those kinds of things that will happen, or they'll watch Fixer Upper and be like, actually, you know what? I think I would do a Fixer Upper. There's a lot of things that happen to your client as they go through the process. So in this particular case, so we go through, we document, and we can say, okay, I'm looking for, well, we'll say, let's see, what doesn't exist. There is no, well, I'll raise it up here. I'll say 500,000, 3 bed, 2 bath, 2 car garage. And you kind of go through this, this process of identifying what is most important to them. Now they can do this on their own, or you can do it with them. I like to do it with them, and I can do this consult, and I can talk about these things when they're selecting them. And but one of the things that was really fun about this app is I did kind of initial discovery call with some clients. I said, hey, I'm going to send you this link to this app, and then so I want you to fill it out. And it was crazy because within 24 hours they had already picked what they wanted, sorted it, picked out homes they want to see, and we were on the way. And so it was pretty spectacular. I joked I felt like I was cheating. Let's see, central air and some things like that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll just skip in the neighborhoods, maybe important to them. Let me fix this. This is the beta. So then one of the things that's really cool also is this sorting of the priorities. And this is the step. And so HomeFit has provided this as a free trial to all Presidio agents right now. If you didn't get an invite, you can email Austin, info@homefitrl.com.
I'll post that in the chat.
Yeah, and so he can get you set up and get you connected and do one-on-one trainings with this as well. So the key here is it's like, okay, what is most important? And you go through, and people have a hard time making decisions sometimes. And so if you just give it to them just one after the other and they can make a binary choice, it allows them to say, okay, well, what is in fact most important to me? And they say, I really want that single family home, basement, 2-car garage. No, I want the forest. I don't really like my mother-in-law, so I'll go for everything except my mother-in-law, and we'll go from there. Okay. And so again, there's a bug they're working on in the beta. I'll show you the production app that's also working just fine, but for messing with it, I like to use the beta. So what that does, it then sorts it into their priorities and what is in fact most important to them. And so sometimes what will happen is a client will then change their mind, which is why, say, you know what, actually that basement's not important to me. And they will go down and they can reorder those things. And that's what's key, is the communication with your client in a competitive market. When they see a home and then they lose the home because they got outbid, they're like, oh, well, maybe that whole picket fence thing, nah, let's forget that one. Oh, in the forest, now let's forget that one. But that basement, no, I really want that basement. And they can start making some decisions. And what's key is that as your client is going through the process of making the decisions, they feel comfortable that they have ownership and control over the process, so that they are willing to make those trade-offs and those commitments to compete effectively in this market. So let's see, I'm going to go to this one over here. So again, here's another client. Here's another one that we had more criteria put in. And it does, this app is connected directly MLS, which we'll talk about in a moment. So any questions so far about kind of identifying criteria and finding what's most important to folks? Okay. So how to actually find a place. Where does everybody go? Where do you all go to go find a house right now? You're paying $40 a month for it. See a couple head nods.
The
Oh, no,
MLS.
it depends. The MLS, KSL, knocking doors, phone calls. There's all sorts of ways that we're trying to find houses right now.
Love it. Perfect. He nails it. Yes. Yes. MLS is a great place to start, but definitely not where you want to stop. Zillow. I know everybody jokes about Zillow, but frankly, Zillow has options. KSL, great opportunity. FSBO's wholesale lists. Wholesale lists are an interesting one. For those of you who are newer agents, there's a lot of people out there that send out 1 million postcards trying to get off-market deals. You can talk to your broker more about that and what's involved in wholesaling. Usually requires hard money or cash and fixer-uppers, but it's a good opportunity to get access to things. Even if you're overpaying compared to what the typical investor would pay, you're usually getting less than what the market, what it would be on the open MLS. And that's where I've seen some success there is, my client wanted owner occupy, not flip. And so they didn't necessarily have to have the fat margins that a typical investor would want. And so they were able to win the wholesale opportunity and then use some resources to do a reno and get a nice house for less money. And so that's some things. Intra brokerage, one of the things that you noticed at the beginning of this training, Ryan did a wants and needs. That's a great one. Presidio, one of the big advantages that Presidio has, it's a large brokerage with a lot of agents. And so sometimes you'll get a better shot getting a property working within your brokerage and talking to other agents in there. I'll skip over blue ocean strategies, but just keep in mind, the commercial real estate world is actually quite used to this because there's not a lot of commercial property, especially in the large multifamily in this state. And so there's a lot of private deals that go on. And so, that's something that, if you can build relationships and get first dibs on opportunities, like for example, Jack, who presented with Edge Homes, Jack and I have known each other for probably 16 years, I think. And so, so if I came to him and I said, hey, I've got a client, he'd take real good care of me to make sure that I had an opportunity. I don't know if he's still on the call. Hopefully he'd echo that, but you know, building relationships. I got some friends that are D.R. Horton agents I've gotten to know really well. Just so if you get to know some of those agents, sometimes you can get to the top of the, the front of the line in cases like that. So I'm going to illustrate a little bit here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the MLS. Let me grab that chat. Looks like, let me make sure I didn't miss that comment. Oh, how do you access the wholesale list? Funny enough, Google, actually. So if you Google Utah wholesale lists, there's going to be a whole bunch of them that'll pop to the top, and they'll have a little form you fill out. And so you can do that. There's also some Facebook groups. It's turning a little bit into a bloodbath, like probably doesn't surprise you. But you can, there are some Facebook groups like the Utah Real Estate Investment Facebook groups that you can, that people will post opportunities on as well. I think I'm on, I don't even know how many at this point. Okay, so I'm going to do another demo here. Let's do, let's go to, I'm just going to do my whole desktop here. All right. So you can see here, I've got my criteria. And in fact, I'm going to change this up just a hair. I'm going to disconnect this one. I'm going to connect this one. There we go. All right. So let's go to, so when you sit down with a client, you've got your criteria that they're looking for. And let me go into my MLS here. There we go. Awesome. So when you're helping a client identify their criteria and you do your home search, a lot of times I'll just sit here in this world, and I'm gonna check my notes a little bit. For those of you who are newer, this will be useful. For those of you who've been around a little while, this may not be quite as exciting for you. But you always start with the criteria list. Now, not all of these criteria that you see on the left-hand side are searchable in the MLS, but they're good reference points. So in this case, I know I'm looking for a single family home. Let's see, it's got a basement. So if I put basement here, the way I like to do basement is I like to just put in some square footage in the basement. That's how I can guess, ensure that I have some basement square footage. Garage. So let's see, and I use the find feature, so the Control F or Command F to find properties, or to hop through the search really fast. Let's see, single family home bedrooms. Bedrooms, so I'm going to come here. I want at least 5 bedrooms. You'll notice that in some cases, I'm putting them up here on the total column. In other cases, I'm putting them specific to a floor. For example, I'm saying I want 5 bedrooms, but I don't necessarily need them all on the top floor. And so that's why I just put them on the total bedrooms line here. Central air, let's see, that is, in here, central air electric. So I put that on there. Basement, so I've got my single family home, carpet, the carpet thing, I won't worry about that one too much. Bathrooms, I want 3 full baths. Let me scroll up here. What else do I have? Master bathroom. That's probably a given in a lot of these, but maybe I need to add that. I'll skip that for now. 2-story. Okay, so this client likes the 2-story style. So now we're down here. New construction. So that could be, let's see, this is the BLT, the kind of the, to be built, under construction. Whew, that dropped a lot. Did you guys see that? Dropped down to 8 from like 96. So that's one of those ones where, all right, maybe I'll leave that one off for a little bit. The office space, I won't put that one in because I know that there's lots of options for office space today. And I'll probably skip off. Oh, no HOA. Yeah, no HOA. So let's see if I can do, there we go. No. So I can take that one off of here. Oh, and then of course the big one at the very bottom, there's this 2 acre lot size. Now the 2 acre lot size, that's going to break everything, I'm sure. So, it took me to 12. Great. So then the client says, so we're looking and we're like, oh, that's not my client's budget. Kind of left one off, right? So if I go to a client and let's see, I'll fix this here in a minute. I think let's see, the screen must have dropped off. So I'll fix this really quick. Let me reshare this. Technology glitches. All right. So I can edit my client's listings here. So I know, okay, let's go back and we'll say list price up to 800. Keep in mind, in some cases, while you're doing the search, you've got maximums and you have minimums. And you don't necessarily always want to put both ends. You kind of want to leave one side open-ended. So a maximum price or a minimum, minimum feature set. Now, I got some good advice from an agent who says if the client can go up to a certain price point and you're probably going to have to pay above list, you should probably search a little bit lower. So we're going to go to like 750 instead of 800,000 perhaps for this example. Now, as you can tell, I got no results. The one that was probably the biggest offender was the acreage. So I'm going to drop that off. Now I've got 7 homes that fit that criteria. So when you're looking at these different things, I like to try to get land around 8 to 12. If you have too many homes, you go a little bit more to the love to haves than the like to haves. If you have too few, then you need to either dump some of those or you need to have a conversation with your client and see really what trade-offs you're willing to make. Because as you can see, this location, as you can tell, I left off location on this one. Payson, Smithfield, Vineyard, Saratoga Springs, West Point, South Jordan, Vernal. So that's going to make some decisions there. Now I want to illustrate a point as we're going through this process. When you see a situation where you're just not getting results, I'm just going to say Utah County. Let's see, we're going to do county. Let's see, we're going to use Utah County. So I got 3 homes in Utah County. If you're not real thrilled with that, one of the things I like to do is I like to go back and I like to add these under contracts and solds, because that tells me the pace that things are coming on the market. Because we keep in mind that we have situations where, yeah, there's nothing on the market, but will there be an opportunity is the question. So I'm going to edit my number of days back, 41 properties, and I can start to see with these dates, and you can change, I won't go into the details, you can do some cool stuff like change the number of columns and things with your results. But I can see how quickly properties coming out. And if you look at this, I mean, there's a lot that came in December, a lot in January. It slowed down a little bit in like February and March, like nothing. At least it is, well, actually that's because these are the sold dates. Let me change the MLS, I'll sort by MLS number here. So you can kind of get an idea of things popping on the market and how quickly they're coming on the market. And so that way your client knows that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. You still have an opportunity to find things. Obviously, listing alerts are super popular right now. If you use listing alerts, you might want to have them, instead of 1 a day, have it pop 3 or 4 times a day, just because it's such a competitive market right now. But those are some things to consider. Now, what I want to show you here The client can do the same thing on, let me wake up my machine here. Wake up. Apparently my iPad just decided that it wanted to have a moment. Give me a second here. Let's see. There we go. All right. So one of the things that's pretty cool is that your client can use the app to do a lot of the searching themselves. And the reason this matters is because when you sit there and you tell a client that there's nothing available and they don't want to believe you, you can say, well, here, go look on your own. And then they can make the decisions for themselves. So they can come in and I'm going to see if I can apply. Remember how to do this because you can apply the criteria that's been searched. I'll just do it manually really fast. Let's see, we'll just say Mapleton because that's where I live. Apply. So the client can sit here and actually do some searches on their own and see what's actually available. And if they're not getting results, then they can start changing their criteria to see what is in fact available on the market. So it helps them to manage their expectations and to have realistic expectations. This is a direct IDX feed. So, any of these pulls it directly from the, it's not even an IDX feed, it's an API feed. So you can go directly to the MLS and see the information. What you'll notice is that it's pre-scoring it actually can pre-score the homes to see how closely it matches my criteria. But if I see one like, yeah, that could work, I'll go ahead and save it to my home list. Or in this case, I'm using the agent side. So I just saved it to my client's home list in this case. I can save this other one. So it's on the home list. This is somewhat similar to if you're going to select a couple of these homes, I'll just pick these two under contract ones, send listings. The difference between the two is when you send listings, it goes to their email. Whereas, when we are using, let me go to here. Okay. There you go. You can see this other one. So the client now is able to see the listings that you sent to them. And so they're able to see them, they're able to browse them, be like, oh, that's pretty cool. They can see the floor, whatever it is on this case. So anyway, it creates more of an interactive experience with your client where your client can be involved. Now, obviously your client can save stuff in the MLS, do favoriting, all that, it's fine. But that's kind of some of those areas where whatever you're using, make sure that your client is part of that process. And yes, and it was noted that the listings are on the app or update every 30 minutes. So you get some pretty good stuff there. Let me pause for a moment here. Okay, let's take a quick, let's do a quick 5-minute break. Jen, are you, I think Jen's there.
Yep,
So,
I'm here.
Awesome. Will you give us our number and take a quick 5 minutes?
Yep. So it's 10:50. So we'll be back at 10:55 and your keyword is must have. So your keyword is must have and we'll see you in 5 minutes.
So Brian, are you flying back and forth to Utah still pretty frequently? Oh, looks like you're muted.
I said all the time.
Really?
That's what
Nice.
happens. That's what happens when all of my clients still live in Utah. I got to be
Mhm.
here for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you fly back for every listing appointment?
The ones that I can. I mean, COVID was perfect timing for this move because I can just do it over Zoom and nobody even questions it. But it'll be a little bit more confusing. Luckily, I have a team of 7, and a lot of my
Mhm.
clients already know everybody on my team, so it shouldn't be too hard
Nice.
when I can't make it.
One of the things that I've had a bunch of agents tell me is that they wanted team functionality in the app. So we're actually building that right now. So
Oh, that's awesome.
then it's easy. Like if one of your team members takes your client to a showing, it syncs to your phone and to your showing agent's phone. And yeah.
Hey, I'm going to admit something that's shameful because I'm trying to get CE credit, but I kind of dozed off into my own universe for a minute, and I have no idea why we're taking a 5-minute break. So I'm like, what's going on with this? Am I supposed to be doing some homework right now?
No, I
Mostly
think it's
just because it was a
bathroom.
good stopping point.
Oh, okay.
Just a good stopping point for a transition point. So must have is the keyword, by the way.
Yeah, I got that. I'm still listening mostly. I just kind of was daydreaming for a minute there. We might need to remind everybody they're supposed to have their camera up the whole class, right? Not just for a split second.
That's true. We've been a little bit loose on it. Even UCAR's been a little bit loose on it, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to be complying, and more than anything, I know it's a lot easier to teach since I teach a couple times a week with faces to look at. So we might want
That
to
is very true.
maybe just remind everybody when they get back. I'll have to, since you guys asked, I'm going to show you a picture outside of my door the other day. It was quite interesting. Since you asked about it, Austin. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I know where it is. I don't know how well you can see this over Zoom, but I just took my dog out my front door to take him for a little walk, and this is what I saw in the gutter.
Is that an alligator?
Yeah, and that hole isn't a little pipe. It's like 3 feet wide, so that's a pretty big sized alligator to have a couple feet from your front door.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a little unnerving, but
I'm gonna go ahead and share this one more time here. The just looking over time, because a lot of this is kind of a long game. When your clients have identified the criteria, as I pointed out, looking at under contracts and solds give you an idea of the pace that things come and go. So kind of know what expectations to set with your client. The listing alerts are good for 2 reasons. If they don't know what they want, they can kind of get an idea of what's coming. And obviously when they do know what they want, then you can get to that sniping that I mentioned earlier with regards to eBay. And you guys need to be the ones checking your email because your clients, sometimes won't necessarily see that all. One thing I do like to do, again, to help your clients commit, I like neighborhood tours. I'm a big fan of taking clients on a drive and talking about the neighborhoods. I encourage them to drive around neighborhoods in the evening on the weekends because then they can see what's going on when everybody's home. And so it's a good way to do that. So we've go through, our clients have identified what it is that they want, and they've identified some homes they want to see. Now, some of this stuff, I'm just going to teach this anyway, just because it's good to know. But I recognize that this doesn't quite apply to the level of the competition that we have in today's market. But, when interest rates go up and prices go up and people can't afford it anymore, things will slow down and yada, yada, yada. So I always like to do 6 to 8 homes on a trip. Some people only want to do 1 or 2 homes on a trip because they say the client's brain turns to mush after they've seen about 3 or 4 homes. And that was when Austin was giving his introduction earlier. That was something that he pointed out. The reality is that we found is that, and I'll show this to you in a bit, what we found with the app is that it actually eliminates that buyer brain damage, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. You know, when you're designing your walkthroughs, do it with geography, keeping in mind travel time. Remember that larger homes will take more time. Whereas, you know, I took a client through 3 townhouses that were all next to each other and they're all the same. First one took 30 minutes, the next one took 10 minutes, the last one took 5 minutes. So, you know, that sort of thing happens when you're pacing. I tend to plan 30-minute, these 1-hour showing windows every 30 minutes. I like this pace. So these are just some suggestions if you are going to be able to go out and see a host of homes. You know, realize, of course, that even if you're not going to see, like, win these bids, you know, I mean, show them a few homes anyway, you know, because it'll help them feel like you're doing your job as an agent, in my humble opinion. But I just think that that's something, you know, buyers thinking of, when you think about it from the point of view of a buyer, it's a hugely stressful situation. It's not something that they're familiar with, and it's tough. So it's worth the upfront experience of saying, what do you want in a home, going through that process of the trade-offs, driving them around. I love the idea of, in fact, like just simply window shopping. I've done that for clients where, rather, like, just say, just so you know, client, today we're not buying. We're going out and we're just looking, we're practicing. We want you to be familiar with what's out there and see what's out there. Because again, it's the idea is, are you preparing your client to aggressively commit when the right home presents itself? Or the one that comes closest to the right home, I should say. And so going through this whole process is advantageous. I really love to drive my clients. I mentioned this before. You know, it's nice because I like to be able to talk about, I like them to look out the window, and I can talk to them as we go. I can educate them as we go. A lot of people don't like to drive their clients. I know they have their reasons, but I'm like, you've got insurance. I usually recommend kids should stay home on the first tour, especially with the amount of chaos that it seems like these open houses are right now. I think it's best, again, don't judge me on that, but I think that I think that's some best practices. If you just bring the buyers and not the entire entourage, you bring them in your car, you can control the situation, you can help them relax, you can help them look around. Remember though, I mean, you need to make sure when you're working with them, you know, if you want to know if there's somebody else who's going to be a decision maker, like not just the buyers. Maybe there's an in-law that would like to contribute their opinion. You guys had this experience before? You know, your client knows exactly what they want, and then the in-law tells them otherwise. So that's something to make sure that you're aware of and prepared. So, you know, so just kind of keep that in mind as you do it. And I love to take them out to lunch afterward. Again, stressful time, stressful experience, give them a positive experience.
Hey, Jeremiah,
yes, please.
Not to interrupt, but from my experience, in-laws and fathers are all home inspectors. They're all licensed and professional home inspectors.
It's so true. That is absolutely amazing. Yes. So, and that's an interesting consideration, because one of the advantages that was designed with this app is that there are so many things that can distract a buyer, and that's a wonderful example right there. And so with the app having like, this is your most important stuff. So you're going through, you're looking at the home, you know, father-in-law says, oh, this deck's going to collapse. Okay, great. And I'll get to that a little bit. We'll note that. But is it breaking your app? And so that's, so that's a good one for us to revisit. So, you know, you may be asking in a hot market versus normal market. We don't have time, but it's worth doing that one tour to build that relationship and educate the client. And then on the second run, you go shopping. I'm going to jump forward, can transition, because as you can tell, we're getting to the actual purchasing of, the actual tours of the property. The idea obviously is at the end of a trip, you should buy a house. You should make an offer. And that's the ideal, right? It's one client, one trip, one offer, one purchase. That would be the ideal. Now, the whole one offer thing to get to one purchase, that's not really happening right now, and we respect that reality. But you know, when they're super focused and they're ready to commit and willing to pull out all the stops to get it, they're going to have a stronger chance to do that. I mentioned earlier, when you're doing the tour, the two things you can't change are location of floor plans. So I always try to remind clients to look at that and focus on those things that they can't change. Do you guys like do the outside first, the inside first when you show a home? And let's assume that there's not already 15 people inside the home. So let's keep that in mind. Do you guys have a preference? Feel free to chat it in there. Inside. Okay. Inside. Yeah, there's not really a right or wrong answer on that one. Some people want to experience the neighborhood. Some people want to experience the interior first because they're going to be living in the interior. So that's most important. So they want to see that. Other people are like, I want to take in the house. And so they start on the outside. You know, that's up to you. But I do like to make sure, again, it's a client experience, which is why I will let myself into the house and then go unlock the front door or something like that. So the client can walk into the home and experience the home from the beginning. That's, again, personal opinion on that one. And, you know, as you guys can kind of see on my notes here, you know, it's nice to light up the home, make it presentable. Good listing agents will coach their clients to do that. In this market, listing agents probably don't even have to care, it seems, I swear. Like, oh, it's fine, just leave your stuff, somebody will buy it anyway. But you know, you still, again, it's what's the experience that you present to your client, so they are super confident that you are working hard for them, not just beating your head against the wall trying to get an offer accepted. So, and of course, they're going to want your opinions. So I'm going to jump to this part, which I think is kind of a big piece right here. Documenting the tour. I'm going to back up, because to make a decision, and you guys heard this, you know, as we were talking about a lot of this, to make a decision on a property, they need to have confidence that they are absolutely making the right trade-offs. So just to kind of belabor this point a little bit, your client right now is about to overpay for a house. I mean, I hate to say that, but they're literally about to overpay for a house. And the minute the interest rates get normalized, they're about to lose 20 to 30% value. Now, I'm being a little bit of a doomsayer here, but that's what you got to mentally keep in mind. They got to make sure that they're ready to commit, you know, and so as you've gone through this process of identifying what they want, they will be prepared to do that. There's a concept out there called cognitive dissonance, where somebody will, you know, if there's, hopefully I'm not mixing the two up, but what will happen is that humans will literally figure out ways to justify their own bad decisions. So you got to make sure when you're coaching your client that you are getting them into the best decision possible. and then let them kind of close the gap. But you can have them go through this process of saying, okay, I've gone through the mental exercise and I'm prepared to commit. Brian Buffini teaches about how people buy emotionally and justify logically. And you're helping them coach through both of those areas. You're helping them logically prepare and manage that emotion so that when they're ready to commit, that they do so successfully. But again, we're going to, by the way, just for, if there's light at the end of this tunnel, guys, it's all the listings you're all going to get 5 years from now when everybody hates their house. I mean, just so think happy thoughts, stick it out. Cindy, I'm sorry you're here in the toughest market ever. But I didn't really start getting into real estate until like on the sales side until about 2007. So that was kind of interesting because then 2008 came. But you just pivot. And then I turned into it. I love the buyer side. Buyer side is my favorite. I can't wait till the next recession. It's always been my favorite. So when you're with the client, one of the things that I like to do again is document this process. So, and this is important because when you are, again, keep in mind, they're going to lose. I mean, okay, I'm being a little bit of a doomsayer here, but so far with a lot of my buyers, unless I was doing an off-market deal, they lost the first, they've lost the 4 or 5 deals before they get one, maybe more. I mean, what's your record? How many, just put in the chat here, how many offers have you put in and not won for a single client? I want to hear the most. Jeez. All right, 11. 20, oh my gosh, 13. Yeah, that is a chunk. So that is a hard thing. But is it a waste? Do you think it's a waste? What value can you get out of that process? What's some value you can learn from that? Brandon, can I pick on you for a minute? What did you learn from doing 11 offers for that one client? What lessons came back to you?
Well, I got a lot more, I'm not going to say creative because it wasn't creative, but definitive on the way that we, the expectations that I set with the clients as we went through, and the way that we wrote the transaction or the contract up. And the way we actually got the one that we won was I set up a system where all of the properties that we had seen in the past that they liked, I would look for those on a list every single day, 3 times a day, to see if something fell out. One of them happened to fall out, and 5 minutes after it fell out, I called the agent and said, do you want this to go under contract right now without any more showings? And she said, yes. I said, here's my offer. And that's how we actually got the deal. So it was just being more definitive in our process.
That's awesome. I love that. That's terrific. And wow. I love Thomas made a comment. You get really good at filling out repsies really fast. Honestly, guys, it's the hard markets that make us better agents. I mean, it really is. I mean, if it's like a competitive market like this, it's creativity, it's speed, it's responsiveness, it's critical thinking, really comes into play. In slow markets, you get really good at different things. And so it really is don't pat yourself on the back that you're an amazing listing agent in this market, just FYI. But you can pat yourself on the back that you're an amazing buyer's agent. I always love the guys that post listing, sold in 3 days. I'm like, dude, my dog could have done that. So, let's take everything with a grain of salt here. But yeah, so the thing that I really liked what Brandon said too. So he mentioned he kept history on the prior offers. That is really important because there is either whether you go back to them because you might be able to get another shot at them, or you want to go back to them to kind of remember what you liked about it. That can really educate your clients. And also, if you've got a client who's just kind of being a butthead and they're like, oh, I'm not going to overpay, or I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this, and they've lost like 6 offers, and then their options keep getting worse and worse. You can go back and say, hey, you look at that list that you wrote offers on. That third one was like your gold one, and that was the one that you went cheap on. So let's not do that again. And you can kind of coach your agents along when you document this process. So to get back to that here, buyer fatigue is real. There's this process can take months, weeks of searching, lots of the hours touring, the 27 offers, really, really tough. And so you really want to document, because one of the things they teach you, so there's this guy named David Allen. He has a methodology called Getting Things Done. It's kind of like if Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is the maybe this kind of this high level like existence type of guidance, David Allen's GTD is kind of very boots on the ground. And one of the things that he teaches is your brain is not an approved gathering place. It's not an approved gathering point. Brains should be used for thinking and decisions, not for storing information. Get it out of your head, get it into some form. And so one of the things that you'll see a lot, obviously, is people go out, they take pictures, they take notes on a piece of paper. We always joke that everybody prints off a copy of the MLS and then goes out and takes, raise your hand if you've been guilty of this. You print off a copy of the MLS and you're taking notes on a piece of paper. And who gets that at the end? Do you keep it? Do you send it to your client? Does your client take it home? There's a couple different ways you can do that. What we see a lot of times is the client took pictures on their phone. You've got pieces, you've taken notes on the back of the MLS sheet. You take the MLS sheet, you email it over. The client pulls up their pictures and they're trying to match up the two and say, well, which one is it really? Which home am I matching? But use something to document that's shared, that's collaborative. You can use shared notebooks online. The Google Docs, you can use Google Docs, take pictures there. Obviously, because HomeFit's the sponsor, I'm going to show you guys how HomeFit does their thing. So let me go ahead and let me drop to, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to share. Let's pull up. Get this shared again. Okay, so again, this is the HomeFit app. So when you go out to go see a home with a client, you can come in here and you say, okay, I've got this property. We're going to go see this Santa Fe Drive property. And you can see, you kind of browse a few things here. But if you tap on this Start Showing, this starts the documentation process of the home. And this is helpful because if you don't, number one, it's going to help you in multiple ways. First off, it's going to keep your client focused on the most important activities and the most important elements. So when the father-in-law, who is a home inspector, starts to talk about things, you can say, yes, we'll go ahead and we'll add a note here. Father-in-law says, Dad says deck is rotting. And then you can take a picture and I'll show you that. It was not rotating. Well, maybe it is rotating. Maybe it's that rotten that it's rotating. And so that's a repair issue that needs to get addressed. So you come in and you say, as you tour the home, you want to focus on what's most important. Say, okay, does this have a master bathroom? And how many bedrooms does it have? Does it have this? Is it a single family home? What's the bathrooms look like? In fact, one of the cool things about Bluetooth is I can sit here, I can walk away from what we are doing right now, and I can walk into my bathroom and down here in the basement, and I can sit here and say, yes, it's got a bathroom. And in fact, I'm going to take a picture of this bathroom, and I now have a record of it here in the app. And I assume everybody saw me do that just now.
We saw you. We didn't really hear it though.
Oh, okay. Didn't hear it on my Bluetooth there. So let me make sure that my Bluetooth, in fact, that's good to know if I'm switching on my, oh, you're right. Let me switch to my air. So now you guys should be able to hear me a little differently, huh? Can you hear me okay? Yes, okay, thank you, Brandon. So yeah, so I was walking over, I was just saying, hey, I was able to take a picture of this and reference this and say basement bathroom is shower only. And that may be something you're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, great, I don't care, I like showers, and we can save that. So the client is able to document the process and not be distracted. As you can tell, as they're going through this and checking the boxes, the home fit score goes up. Again, people buy emotionally, justify logically, so you want to help them capture both elements. And so we've got the score going up here, which is that objective score. Does this home meet their needs? Yes, 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 yes. It's got the stuff, and we're cruising along. We're really happy with this property here. And then we're like, oh, it's got a basement. Yeah, in fact, what kind of basement does it have? Well, here's a picture. There's my baby Yoda. Just kind of sitting there. So we'll go ahead and use that one. Or let's see if I walk right way again. Hopefully you guys can hear me again. We can say yes. In fact, it's a, add one more photo here. It's got a good view of the backyard, not that basement. So these are some things that you can use to document the process and make sure that you're focusing on what's most important. When you finish it, you can say, okay, how much do I like this house? You know what? It is absolutely amazing. We're going to call this the outside of this particular home happens to be green, so we'll call it the greenhouse. And so your client can score the home based on, emotionally, how do they feel about it? How does this make you feel? And we always like to, this is something I do, the nicknaming. I've been doing this for years. I know a lot of agents will nickname homes again, so they can go back to them and reference them. And that's the thing, like if I lose this, if we make an offer on this home and we don't win, at least I can come back here and I can compare it to the other homes that I've looked at in the past and remind myself how that home compares. This is the thing that eliminates the buyer brain damage. The buyer brain damage is what comes as a result of not documenting the process and trying to store all this stuff in your head. And as they go through this process, they make these mental exercises. They're like, okay, yeah, I can see why that one didn't work. Maybe I will, or maybe I'll make a stronger offer next time so I can win this one, then go back and refer to it. Let's go to here. All right, just kind of hopping forward. This one's kind of an interesting one. How many of you have read this in the on the MLS? See Carrie nodding her head there. Yep. So the photos are getting really good at lying now, as you guys can see. We went from, when I first started the industry, agents were using pretty bad cell phone photos that didn't really show much. And then we started using professional photos that really started standing out. And now, now the photos are so over the top incredible that we have to almost double check. And so as you're doing these tours, you want to document and identify those things that you'll see. Does it match the expectation, the criteria? So are you guys willing to walk away from a house that doesn't meet your client's needs, even if it's available and on the market? I saw somebody made a comment there. Yes, no, maybe so. Don't fear to do that. Don't fear to walk away from a problem, because you're there to help your clients get a home, but you're also there to help protect your clients. And so just keep that in mind. So after you've gone through that process of helping your clients make these decisions, we always like to ask the questions: what did you like? What did you not like? You can document that on the back of an MLS sheet, document that in app like HomeFit or Google Docs. Go through these processes. Ask yourself these questions. What did you like? What did you not like? Why? Find out why they may have said that. If something they didn't like, does it matter to them? Are they willing to let that go? Are they willing to trade off that thing so that they're willing to commit? And then, you know, kind of finding out what's most important, the name of the score. So I'm going to pause for a moment. What questions? We've covered a lot of ground, and I've gone fairly quickly on this. You know, I can rewind a little bit, but tell me kind of what, as we've gone through this process, we've identified criteria, we've prioritized criteria, we've searched for homes on the MLS, KSL, off-market, wholesaling. We've talked about showings, we've talked about documentation. What are some of the things where you guys have seen some pain points with that process? Or what questions you guys have? I feel like I'm just learning and I'm collecting CE credit. That's okay. This is going to be the best time return of CE credit you'll ever get.
Jeremiah, this is Cindy. I have a question, not relating to what you just asked, but just to confirm with this app, is this basically for the agent to use, or is it for the buyer to use, or both?
Definitely both.
Okay, definitely both. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, so that's one of the nice things. It's intended to be a collaborative experience. And so in fact,
so the buyer and the agent, so can the agent see what the buyer is inputting onto the app and vice versa, as far as
yes.
comments about the, okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm that.
I think it's a great question there. So just to show you all this, so, you know, as we did this demo house here, or it says we did, let's see, where's the one I just barely did? I think it was the Santa Fe Drive one, I think we just did. So that one should pop up if it hasn't already. Oh wait, no, I'm a homeless showings list. That'll sync in a minute here. But yeah, so if the client is looking at it on their phone, and the agent's looking at it on their phone or their iPad, they're able to see the same things and the same comments. So hopefully that Santa Fe will load in here in a minute.
So along those lines, if an agent adds, say, a home from the MLS, it will notify the buyer, hey, Cindy just added a home to your home list, you should check it out. And vice versa, if your buyers go and add 2 or 3 houses in some city that they're interested in, it will notify you, hey, Austin's been adding homes to his home list, you should check it out. And then, like Jeremiah said, any notes that they take will automatically sync to you. Because one of the things that agents have told me is really common is buyers are afraid to offend the agent for some reason. Like, oh, my agent suggested this house, I don't want to tell them that I don't like it. So they like kind of speak around it. And it's like, it's hard to know what your buyer wants if they're not willing to tell you. So by syncing all of the buyer notes directly to you, even if your buyer isn't telling you everything verbally, you can see what they're saying and how they're rating things. So you still know, okay, this house isn't for them. It looks like they don't like this, this, this. So next house I'm going to suggest to them will be a little different or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Looks like we got a little tiny bug to fix. We got a 10 score on the greenhouse on the agent side. But yeah, it typically, as you can tell, it synchronizes well between the two. Here's this handcart one. So we've got the demo house one on handcart drive. So you can see that it's the same information on both platforms. And so whether your client's taking the notes or you're taking notes for the client while the client looks, either one is fine. The key is being able to go back and kind of reference those things. Let's do one more keyword and then I'll finish up the last little bit.
Awesome. Okay, your keyword is client. Client is your keyword.
Good job. All right. Let me go to just kind of this last little bit. It's funny, I've taught this class in 3 hours. I've taught this class in 2 hours, but really only had like an hour of material covered because the agents were just constantly just talking the whole time. It's always a different variety to it. So what I want to show you next with this, and this is actually kind of the last little part here. This is kind of what we want to put as some of these takeaways in today's market. So I mentioned Buffini had said people buy with emotion, justify with logic. They really decide how the home makes them feel, and then they look for reasons to explain why they feel the way they do. Now, the rule's a little different nowadays because they're buying not because of how the home makes them feel, but how the market makes them feel. And so they're feeling stress, they're feeling urgency, and so they're going along those lines and trying to commit quickly and to get something. And so it is a hard market for us all right now, but if you help them experience the process with you and make the decisions with you, then they will actually develop and they'll maintain their sanity and they'll love you for it as an agent. This can be an incredibly emotional experience, and this is I always tell my managers. So I do a lot of property management, and some managers get really terrified when something bad happens. In fact, just for kicks and giggles, let me show you something. This is a little different here. Let's see, resume share, but I'm going to pause recording.
Is experience. And then what I'm going to do over in the chat is I'm going to give you a link that you can be able to click on and fill in all of that information, and I will get it, and then we'll get your certificates and your hours banked, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, Austin, are you there with us? Oh yeah, there you are. I'll go ahead and let you. Yeah, what would you like to make sure to cover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were some questions that came to me. So if anybody has additional questions that they'd like me to run through just really quickly with the app, I'm happy to do that. So I will. Brian, can you make me a co-host or allow me to screen share?
Yep, go ahead and screen share.
Thanks. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. So one of the questions that I got was if the app makes it like a visual comparison tool, and it does. So let's say these are houses you've gone to see with your client. These are actually houses that my wife and I went to see when we were buying our most recent house. So you can see here's the grandpa house, here's the Play-Doh house. Weirdly, when I went into that house, it smelled like Play-Doh, and we never could figure out why. There's this button in the top left that I'm going to tap, and then it will allow me to select homes to compare. So if I'm like, okay, I want to do this house and this house and this house, I can compare them side by side. And you'll see, okay, I can see the scores, I can see the price. If I want, there's this button in the top right that flips it to landscape, so you can see more than 3 houses. You could have like 5 or whatever. Bedrooms, bathrooms. I can see what is and isn't checked with each thing. So like, oh, none of these have office space. The Play-Doh house doesn't have the 2-car garage. This house had an open layout while these other 2 didn't, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes it pretty easy to kind of, most agents have told me that they do this with their clients anyway. So having a visual tool that lets, as you're doing your normal process of talking them through house A versus house B, it helps the clients feel like, okay, I'm keeping them straight between the two of them. Because you as an agent, you're trained, you're experienced, you know what you're doing with this. But for a buyer, it's really overwhelming to try to take these 15 or 20 variables and try to kind of smash them together into one house. It's really difficult for buyers to do that mentally because they don't have experience with it. So having a visual tool does make that a little easier. Cindy, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions about the app itself?
One thing I'll say is, for me, it's been a really nice way to centralize a lot of my communication with my clients. Again, it's eliminated the last vestible pen and pencil that I've been using. I reference that. Everybody, I joke, we all have CRMs, we never use them. Some of us do. Brian does. but I'm still using my spreadsheet, so, even though I'm paying for Lion Desk. And but I've been able, this is just simple enough to just put my clients in there. And as you guys could see when I was jumping back and forth, well, you can see the drop down here with Austin. Austin, if you tap on the drop down, you can change clients. So you can kind of go around and look at other clients and things, and that's been a convenient way to keep track of things. So yeah, it makes sense. And so Cindy, you made that comment. So we do, with this free trial, we're giving the trial, we're doing a few months to give people a chance until they can get that client, that first client, and so you can get that opportunity to try that out. So we do have this trial specifically for all of Presidio. So we'd be happy, you can download it from the App Store, the Google Play Store, and you're able to utilize that.